Welcome back to the deep dive.
Hey there. Glad to be here.
So, we've got a stack of sources today that at first glance looks a little, well, a little eclectic.
Yeah, you could definitely say that.
We're looking at a blog post from a site called qianmeng.org, and this is dated February 17th, 2026.
Right, and it's really not your standard tech journalism. It's not a press release, and it's certainly not some polished tutorial written by a big corporation.
No, not at all. It's very raw. The specific entry we are dissecting today is titled Notes on Haskell Programming, Part 60.
Part 60.
Yeah, Part 60. And look, I know what you're probably thinking. You hear Part 60 and Haskell in the exact same sentence, and your thumb is probably hovering right over the skip button.
Because you think we're about to put you through a graduate-level lecture on functional programming theory.
Exactly. But I want to stop you right there, because...
Please do, because this isn't really about Haskell.
Right.
Or at least, I mean, it's not just about Haskell.
It's really about a very specific feeling. A curse, actually. I like to call it the curse of the forever student.
Oh, we have all been there.
Have you ever had that feeling where you've dived just so deep into the theoretical weeds of a new subject?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're studying the complex grammar, the weird edge cases, and then suddenly you realize you've completely forgotten how to do the most basic practical thing.
Like you know how to completely rebuild a car engine from scratch.
Right.
But you sit in the driver's seat and you've forgotten where the ignition key goes.
Yes. Or I can conjugate the most obscure subjunctive tense in French, but I completely forgot the word for bathroom.
Exactly. And our author today, Eng, he captures that exact moment of humility just perfectly.
He really does. He refers to himself as an old software plumber, which I just think that's a fantastic title.
It's so evocative. I mean, it suggests pure utility. A plumber isn't sitting there worrying about the theoretical hydrodynamics of water.
Wow. They just care if the pipes are connected.
Exactly. Are the pipes connected? Are the leaks stopped? And is the water actually flowing?
Right. It's all about flow. And Eng, our plumber here, he admits right at the start of this post that he's been struggling a bit.
Yeah, he has a great quote right in the intro.
Yeah, let me read it. He says, "Since I've been dabbling with the weird Haskell syntax in my previous post, I overlooked the process of loading Haskell code into GHCi."
Which is just so honest.
It is. And that brings us to the actual mission of our deep dive today. This is a real back-to-basics moment. We're going to look at how we actually talk to the machine.
Specifically, the interpreter.
Right. Because hidden inside this very simple, everyday instruction about loading files, there's actually a fascinating insight into how computers read what we type.
Yeah, it's the core distinction between giving a command and writing code.
It really is. It's the difference between asking the computer to do something to your actual workspace
Right.
versus asking it to calculate something within that workspace. And that tiny distinction trips up everyone from beginners to total experts.
Oh, absolutely. But before we get into the actual code mechanics and this whole quotation mark mystery that the source brings up,
Which we will definitely get to.
yeah, we have to talk about the context of this software plumber.
Mm.
Because I was looking at the sidebar of this blog, and the sheer volume of work Eng has put out is just mind-blowing.
It's staggering. I mean, we are on part 60 of his Haskell notes.
And that's just one tiny category.
Right. I'm looking at the tags right now. We've got notes on fish keeping,
Mm-hmm.
notes on photography, notes on betta spawn logs.
Yeah, the fish logs.
And get this, notes on gardening is up to part 814.
Part 814. I mean, you kind of have to admire the sheer dedication there.
It totally paints a picture of a very specific type of learner. This isn't some textbook author who's polishing a strict curriculum for a university course.
No, this is a tinkerer. This blog is a journal.
Yeah.
It's the daily grind of someone who truly believes in the flawness philosophy.
Free, Libre, and open source software.
Exactly. He mentions that right in his About section. But it's more than just software. It really reveals a whole mindset.
He calls it the journal of an old software plumber, night-long tinkering.
And that mindset is totally key to understand the technical problem he's solving in this post today.
How so?
Well, think about it. When you are a plumber, or especially a gardener, you are dealing with systems that need constant, ongoing maintenance.
Right.
You don't just finish a garden. You don't put a seed in the dirt and say, okay, great, that's done forever.
No, you turn your back for a week and the weeds completely take over, or the aphids show up and ruin everything.
Exactly. You have to weed it, you have to water it, you adjust the soil pH. It's endless. And Eng treats programming the exact same way.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's not about mastering Haskell once and being done. It's about the incremental process of keeping the knowledge fresh. The fact that he has 814 notes on gardening suggests he values the process of learning way more than the status of being a so-called expert.
Which perfectly explains why he's writing part 60 and talking about something as elementary as loading a file. It's maintenance. He's just sweeping the floor of his digital workshop.
He's documenting the process of getting his tools ready. And in Haskell, the main tool we're talking about is GHCi.
Okay, let's pause there. For anyone listening who might not be a Haskell pro, what exactly is GHCi?
Sure. It stands for the Glasgow Haskell Compiler Interactive Mode.
Okay.
Basically, it's a REPL. That's REPL, a read evil print loop. It's essentially a command line interface where you can just type code and get immediate feedback.
Right, so you don't have to write a massive program, compile the whole thing, and run it separately just to see if one line works.
Exactly. It's your sandbox.
Okay.
You're in there playing with the code.
Okay, so it's the sandbox. But Aang's problem here is that he got so completely bogged down in the weird syntax of the language, the fancy stuff, that he literally forgot how to get his toys into the sandbox.
Highly relatable.
I've definitely been there. Staring at a blinking cursor thinking, I know exactly what function I want to write, but how do I actually open the file?
Right.
So let's get into the actual mechanics. Aang outlines two primary ways to get your code into the machine. Two ways to tell the plumber to open the valves, so to speak.
He breaks it down very clearly. Method 1 is what he calls the terminal approach.
This is where you pass the file name directly as an argument right when you launch the program. So you're at your computer's main command prompt, and you type GHCi, followed by the file name.
Think of this like bringing your lunch with you to work. You pack it before you even leave the house.
Right.
And when you walk through the office door, or in this case, when you launch the GHCi program, your food, your code, is already right there in your hand. You are ready to eat immediately.
I love that analogy. You don't have to go looking for it. It's efficient. You're prepared.
But then there's the second method, which he calls the interactive approach. This is for when GHCi is already running.
Right. You're already inside the environment. You're sitting at a desk. You didn't pack a lunch today.
Nope. Now you have to order delivery.
Exactly. You have to actively tell the environment, hey, go get this file and bring it to me. You're already logged in, so to speak, and now you need to pull the script in.
And the command for that is :load.
Yep.
Or just :L for short.
Sounds simple enough.
You would think.
But here is where it gets really interesting, and this is the core deep dive nugget for today's source. Aang points out this one specific detail that he calls noticeable.
Yeah.
He writes, you may notice that quotation marks are unnecessary when using :load.
And that right there is the big aha moment.
Really? Because on the surface, it just seems like a trivial syntax rule, like, oh, great, I saved 2 keystrokes by not typing quotes.
It seems that way, but it actually reveals entirely how the interpreter is built beneath the surface.
Okay, because usually in programming, and definitely in Haskell, if you are dealing with text, like the name of a file, you absolutely have to put quotation marks around it. You'd write, quote, myfile.hs, unquote. But here, you just type :load myfile.hs. No quotes at all.
None.
Why the exception? Is the computer just trying to be nice to us and save us time?
It's definitely not an exception. And it's certainly not being nice. It's actually a completely different language.
Wait, hold on, explain that. We're inside the Haskell compiler. We're typing in the Haskell box.
We are in the box, yes, but we aren't speaking Haskell yet.
Ah.
This brings us to the concept of meta commands. Aang explains that when you use that colon at the start of the line, you are fundamentally shifting the mode of the interpreter. You aren't writing code to be compiled anymore.
Then what are you doing?
You are talking directly to the interface itself.
So the colon is almost like, it's like picking up the walkie-talkie to talk to the control room versus actually turning the steering wheel of the car.
That is a perfect analogy. When you type :load, the interpreter treats everything that follows as a raw string.
A raw string.
Right. It knows that the sole purpose of this command is to find a file on your hard drive. It's not trying to do advanced math on the file name. It's not trying to look up a variable you defined earlier. It just takes the text you typed, literally the raw characters, and hands it straight to your operating system to find the file.
It's a direct command to the shell.
Exactly.
Okay, that actually makes total sense. The interface sees the colon and says, oh, a colon. That means they're talking to me, the manager. I'll just listen to what they want me to fetch.
Precisely. It enters a command mode. But then Aang brilliantly contrasts this with what happens when you are not using the colon.
Right. He uses the example of a function called isText.
Yeah.
He writes, conversely, when calling the isText function, you are writing standard Haskell code.
And in that world, the world of standard code, The rules are incredibly rigid. They have to be.
So in standard Haskell code, if you want to pass a piece of text to a function, you absolutely must use quotes. If you type is text hello without quotes, the computer doesn't just see the word hello.
No, it doesn't.
What does it actually see?
It sees a name. It thinks hello is an identifier.
An identifier.
Right. It assumes hello is a container for something else.
Yeah.
Like a variable you defined on line 10, or another function, or a data constructor.
Oh, I see. It thinks I'm referring to an object.
Yes.
Like if I'm at the dinner table and I say, pass me the salt, my brain is looking for the physical object named salt. It doesn't just picture the letters S-A-L-T floating in the air.
Exactly. And if the computer can't find that object named hello, it panics. It starts frantically searching its memory banks. Do I know a hello? Is hello defined anywhere in the current scope?
The current scope. Okay, Aang mentions that exact term. And I feel like that's one of those tech terms people always nod at in meetings, but maybe don't fully get. Can we unpack scope for a second?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Think of the scope as the computer's short-term memory, or its current context.
Okay.
It's the master list of every value, every function, every variable that exists right now in the room with you. If you haven't formally introduced hello to the room yet, and you try to use it without quotes, the computer basically raises a hand and says, excuse me, I have no idea who that is.
And Aang notes that it will raise an error specifically because it cannot find a matching definition.
Exactly. So going back to the colon command, the lack of quotes in colon load isn't just some convenient little shortcut or lazy typing.
It's a signal.
It's a huge signal. It tells the machine that we are operating in a totally different reality.
Mm-hmm.
The colon says, don't look for a variable named myFile. Just take these exact letters and go find the file.
That really illustrates the core logic of the machine so clearly. The machine constantly needs to know, are you giving me a command to execute on a file, which is a meta command, or are you giving me a value to process within a function, which is code?
Yes. The colon is literally the switch that toggles between those two realities.
And for someone just learning, that distinction is often where all the frustration lies, right?
Oh, definitely. You might type a file name without quotes into a function, and suddenly your screen is full of red error text.
Right. Or you might put quotes inside a load command, and depending on what version of the tool you're running, it might work, or it might fail, or it might do something completely unexpected. And the worst part is you don't understand why it's failing.
Exactly. Aang is peeling back that invisible layer to show us the why.
It's almost like code switching in real-world linguistics. You speak one way to the bus driver when you're paying your fare, and you speak a completely different way to your best friend sitting next to you on the bus.
That's a great way to put it. Or, to stick with our software plumber analogy from earlier,
Let's do it.
it's the difference between asking your assistant, hey, hand me the wrench, versus actually taking the wrench and tightening the pipe yourself.
I see.
The colon load command is asking for the tool. The function is using the tool.
That clarifies it significantly.
Yeah.
And honestly, it makes me feel a lot better about all the times I've totally messed this up in the terminal.
Right.
It's not that I'm stupid, it's just that I was speaking the wrong dialect to the wrong listener at the wrong time.
Exactly. It's a context error, not an intelligence error.
I want to zoom out a bit here, back to Aang himself, our old software plumber.
Let's do it.
We talked about his gardening notes earlier, and I just can't stop thinking about the parallel between the two disciplines.
It really is a beautiful parallel, isn't it?
I mean, just look at the titles floating in that sidebar. You have Notes on Gardening Part 814, Why Red Penda Is, whatever that is.
Some specific plant issue.
Right, or Notes on Fish Keeping Part 201, Balancing Algae Growth.
And right next to it, notes on Haskell Part 60.
Does the expert in you see a deep, fundamental connection there? I mean, is a compiler just a really complicated digital garden?
In a very real way, yes. If you actually adopt that software plumber or gardener mindset, you start viewing all these things as living ecosystems.
Okay.
A garden isn't something you just build once, hit compile, and walk away from forever.
No, never. It's always changing.
Exactly. You have to constantly adjust the soil pH. You have to move a plant if it's getting too much shade. You have to trim the dead leaves. It is a system of constant, tiny, incremental adjustments.
Yeah.
And Aang's blog, with its hundreds and hundreds of entries, suggests that he treats programming the exact same way.
It's not some book called Mastering Haskell in 21 Days where you cross the finish line and get a certificate. It's not a destination.
No. It's Notes on Haskell Part 60. It's a continuous, never-ending process of maintenance, just like he's carefully balancing the algae levels in his fish tank.
He's balancing the types in his code?
Yes, he's plumbing. He's just keeping the system flowing.
And sometimes keeping the system flowing means realizing you completely forgot how to load the file today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even a master gardener sometimes forgets where they put the trowel. And that is perfectly okay. The fact that he actively documents these small stumbles, like forgetting the :load command, is what makes this source so uniquely valuable.
It absolutely validates this struggle because usually when we read tech blogs or documentation, it's this incredibly polished tutorial.
Right. It's always, here's the perfect, flawless way to build a web app in 5 minutes.
Yeah, it completely hides the sweat. It hides all the typos and the syntax errors.
But Eng's notes expose the struggle. He's essentially saying, hey, I'm an experienced plumber. I've literally written 60 detailed parts on this language, and even I forgot how to turn the main valve today.
It really demystifies the whole thing. It's not magic. It's literally just plumbing. And speaking of plumbing, I love that he also has notes on home improvement and dieting.
It's amazing.
It's like this is a whole complete human being writing this, not just some AI code generator.
And that brings us right back to that philosophy we mentioned.
Free and open source.
Yeah. Usually when we think of open source, we just think of sharing code. Like, here's my program, go ahead and use it for free.
Right.
But Eng is doing something much deeper here. He is open sourcing his actual learning process.
Open sourcing his life, essentially.
Pretty much. He's sharing his raw notes so the next person who comes along doesn't have to struggle quite as much. Or, honestly, so that when he forgets again in 6 months, he has his own reference manual to look back at.
Which is probably why he has 814 notes on gardening. He's just building his own external brain online.
We should all probably do that a lot more often. Just document the small daily wins and the tiny failures.
I agree completely. So what does this all really mean for you, the listener? Let's recap what we've covered today.
Sounds good.
We've learned that :load doesn't need quotation marks because it's a meta command, a raw string being passed directly to the interface.
Right.
We've learned that standard functions do need quotes because they deal with values and specific types within the language's scope. And we've learned that it apparently takes at least 814 blog posts to figure out how to run a garden.
Something like that, yeah. But I think the real key takeaway here, the one I want our listeners to really hold on to, it's this idea of tool awareness.
Tool awareness. Unpack that for us.
When you sit down at a terminal, or really any complex piece of software, even something everyday like Excel or Photoshop, you are fundamentally engaging in a conversation.
Right.
But you constantly need to know who exactly you are talking to at any given second. Sometimes you are talking to the interface, the shell, the menu bar, the GHCi prompt.
Yes.
And sometimes you are talking to the engine, the actual programming language, or the math formula.
And knowing who you are talking to completely determines the grammar you need to use.
Exactly. You wouldn't try to order a pizza by writing a Shakespearean sonnet, right?
Hopefully not.
And you don't talk to your Haskell compiler like it's a simple command line, unless you use that magic colon.
The colon in GHCi is that crucial signal. It literally says, hold on, I am stepping out of the language for a second just to arrange the furniture in the room.
It's a very empowering thought once you grasp it. You aren't just typing blindly into a void. You are actively navigating layers of abstraction.
And I think there is something deeply liberating about being a plumber rather than an architect.
How so?
Well, you don't have to be the visionary genius who designed the entire skyscraper from scratch. You just have to know how to connect the pipes and make sure the water actually runs.
And if you happen to forget how to use the wrench one morning, that's totally fine. Just write a note about it. Maybe it'll be part 61.
Or part 815 if it happens to be out in garden.
True. Very true.
So as we wrap up this deep dive today, I want to leave you with a thought. We spend so much of our daily digital lives inside these interfaces, typing into search bars, command lines, chat boxes.
It does raise a really important question about how we interact with technology.
Exactly. In the tools you use every single day, where is the line between the interface you talk to and the actual engine doing the hidden work?
It's a blurry line sometimes.
It really is. How often do we mistake the map for the actual territory? When you type a query into your browser, are you talking to the browser itself, the search engine, or the underlying website?
And just like with GHCi and our colon command, knowing the difference might completely change how you communicate.
And the results you ultimately get.
Absolutely.
It's definitely something to mull over the next time you're staring down a blinking cursor. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive, and keep tinkering out there.
See you next time.